Okay, so here's my workaround for that busted lug. So it's just a 3mm regular bolt with flats ground on opposing sides, so it leaves sort of like a T-piece. I've left it on both sides because I'm pretty sure the original one had it on both sides, and it's entirely possible that I broke off one end of it at some point. Just didn't notice, or it might have been gone a long time. Either way, I have verified that the eyelets on each of the wire ends will go over this guy without any problem. Taking it off again would be real fun, so I'm not going to get too many attempts getting this right when the time comes. So we can just hope that it works. So I'm just going to put some 5-minute epoxy in here and glue it down, and then we'll carry on. Okay, there we go, all glued in. Should do the trick. On to making up a new dial cord. It's going to be fun. So while the string has retained the memory, if you like, of where it goes around the shaft in the drum, I've put a piece of tape either side so that when I pull the string straight, I'll be able to mark where those are on the new cord, and then hopefully I'll be able to make sure that, if you like, the right part of the cord goes around the drum shaft. That's the theory anyway. So I measured the length of the cord as accurately as I can, and I started making up the duplicate, and then I realized that well, the designers didn't want to make life simple at all. So the problem is you can't feed the cord through the opening in the drum here to get it around the shaft once you have the eyelet on the end. So I have to somehow measure the length of the cord, thread one end of it through before I put the eyelet on it, and then hope my estimate of the length is close enough, because I can't just lay it out on a straight line. This thing has to be wrapped around it before I cut it to length. Yeah, here goes. Well, I don't know if I got this right or not. I think it's close. So what I had to do is I fitted the eyelet on this end of the string. I ran the other end of the string through and around the shaft and then out, so there's no eyelet on this end. Then using where the drum was and all the other reference and the number of turns on this side, I then basically wound on here, so it came down here, and then I had to manually wind it. What I discovered, the two holes in the shafts are very useful, because by putting a couple of pins in each of these holes, I was able to put torsion on the spring and then lock it with these two holes, and so at least that I figured out why those holes are there. So I wound it around here and fixed this end. Then I ran the other side around, counted the number of turns in the other direction, and then I actually had to fit the eyelet on it while it's wrapped around the shaft. So you can imagine that was fun and games. It's not quite right when I go all the way open. There, I have nothing left here. It's still hooked on properly. So there's no real risk that it's going to fly off or anything. But when I go all the way to the other end, so the veins are fully closed, I have a couple of turns left on this end. So I think the string is slightly too much over this side, I could give up one turn here, and if I had one turn over there, that'd be nice. But I think it's good enough. I think it's going to work. And it's an interesting mechanism when it's when this string is taking up this string on this side. This part of the string is in tension, but this part here is very loose. And then when it's going the other way, the tension flips to this cord, and this one is very loose. Strange mechanism. So I'm going to test this rather exhaustively before I go to the trouble of putting the wire back on and all that stuff. And you know, since the tension alters depending on which direction you're going, it is entirely possible that when the tension was loose here, that it did ride up on the side of the pulley and the pulley caught it. I don't know. So it's the following day, and it looks like things have stretched and bedded in a little bit overnight, because what I found when I tried it out today is when it's all the way over this end, with just a half turn on the shaft here, it wasn't providing enough grip, and so once you got it to this end you couldn't get it to go back, it would just slip. So I removed the eyelet off the end here, and I put an additional turn of torsion on the tensioner spring here, and that seems to do it. So we're back in business with full travel each way. I've also greased up the bearings and tensioned the anti-backlash gears. So I'm going to leave this. I'm not going to put the wires on and the rest literally until the thing is ready to go into the chassis. Because I don't want any repeats of what happened. So this will be like this for probably at least a week while I get on with the cab. And then we'll see where we go from there. But if it's all still working nicely by then, I'll reinstall the pointer mechanism and stick it all back in the cab. So the current status with the cab looks like it might still take a while because the weather is crap. So humidity wise it's not good for spraying. So I got a little impatient, and initially I tried with your regular acrylic aerosol clear coat. Which worked okay, except I'm so sensitive to that stuff that after shooting a couple of coats of it, I became somewhat unwell, even wearing a full mask. So I had to give that up. And so since I can't really shoot water base at the moment, for now I'm just putting layers of shellac on it with, by hand. And I think that'll be good enough. But yeah, it's going to take a little while because the weather is really crap again now. So that's where it's at. The chassis will just sit around, and I'll be playing with it and listening to shortwave on it, just making sure the cord mechanism is holding up. And when I finally get this guy done, I'm definitely going to have to get that on-off switch thing off that side here. I don't know how, but I'm going to have to get it out of there because I won't be able to rub down that side so long as that's in there. So that's where it is, guys. Plenty to do in the cab still, but yeah, getting there.